Welcome to the use of sandwich boards. I'm going to talk about what should be allowed, and some great examples to work from. And sandwich boards are always seem to be controversial. And when we talk about sandwich boards or A boards, we're also talking about any sidewalk signs that are anything that you can move around outside your business. I would consider a sandwich board, whether it folds in half or whether it doesn't. So these are ground stake signs. All of those are included in this. So when I'm talking about sandwich boards, we're talking about free moving signs that you might have in front of your business. Now, I am a fan of some sandwich boards, and so let's just dig right into that. I mean, this here is a sandwich board. I love it right here, and I love the chalk ones. I wish the only sandwich boards out there were chalk like this, where they put extra 60% off, and it's just for the things they have right there. But I would also include signs like this as a sandwich board, even though it's technically not. That sign there is actually sitting on an easel. But once again, it's a portable sign. In their case, they have it right up against the facade, no big deal, but it would still be considered kind of a freestanding sign that is movable. So I would put it in the class of sandwich boards. By the way, I think that is an excellent sign right there. You can't quite see the open at the bottom of it, but you notice it matches their blade signs. This is where blade signs and sandwich boards really complement each other. And by the way, if you have blade signs, you don't have near the need for sandwich boards. And so that's one really good thing to keep in mind. Here, Mr. Pickle right here, Mr. Pickle Sandwich Shop. Now, that's not a foldable sign, but once again, it is a mobile sign that they can pick up and move around. I actually love that sign. I think it's really cool. And so let's talk about 5 sandwich board rules. You can use these as guidelines, and I'm going to show you lots of examples. Number 1, they must be unique to the business. And what I'm talking about here is none of these where an ice cream, like you see right here, drumstick, where a vendor that sells these drumsticks gives you the sandwich board, and they might even give you discounts if you put it out in front. But this isn't specific to the business. It's specific to a product. I think it gentrifies your downtown. It doesn't make it unique to you at all. You can see these anywhere. It's the same with signs like these, where, Budweiser and every beer company out there will give you a sandwich board. In this case, they have the chalk, but I just think the sandwich boards need to be 100% unique to the business and not promoting a product they sell. So all these, I would avoid the beer, the booze, the product specific sandwich boards. And it just takes away the personality of your downtown. In this case, I think the one right here that's promoting the bookshop, which happens to be right there, right around the corner, I think it's great. It's specific to them. Yet on the other one, you see they have 2 here. And we're going to talk about that too. But once again, it's promoting like ham or a product that they sell for their sandwiches. And I just think it's too generic. And I'm sorry, I think it takes away from the personality of the business and the downtown. Now in this case, you can see the attic has a great blade sign. It's got a great sign on the side of the building, but down below it's got 2 little, they could use some paint jobs, but those are unique to the business. Those 2 little signs they have, they're leaning up against a platform behind it, they match the business, and it's generic, and it's not generic. It is specific to their business. I think these are great signs. And in their case, they're on a corner, so you can see the sign from both ways, which I thought was nice. In this case, it's Monkey Mountain, so the sign is right there. I think that's great. Now, in their case, if they had a blade sign above the door, they wouldn't have near as much need for the sandwich board. But in this case, it fits their theme, it fits who they are, and that would be allowable. I mean, I love this. I took this in Marion, Iowa, and it's an art studio, and they even have the ladder painted as a piece of art. It even has chalk down there so you can sit there and do sidewalk chalk art if you want. But once again, I would consider that a sandwich board. But once again, it's in keeping with who they are, the Dreaming Bear, which is an art shop. And I think that's really cool. So that's number one. Always make it specific to the business and not promote products where they give you a sign. I'm sorry to do that. But number two is use these sandwich boards to only promote special sales and menu items. Now, you saw some that just point in to tell people we're there. And that's where Blade Signs can actually do that for you. And so let me show you some examples. I love the chalkboard signs. Have I said that already? I just love these, like welcome members of Destination Downtown. So they had a whole group of people in their downtown, so they welcomed them. The Old Town Store, today's lunch special is right there. I think that is a fantastic sign, and they should be encouraged, and they should be changed probably once a day or at least weekly. I mean, look, I love this in El Dorado, Arkansas. Get your Java going here, and they might change it out the next day, selling scones or something else. Great examples of sandwich boards. Or like this one. I mean, try a frozen banana. And I got to tell you, I was in Emporia, Kansas. And guess what? You wouldn't put that on, they don't have that on their doors. But you know what? We actually went in and tried the frozen bananas. They were excellent. If that sandwich board hadn't been there, we wouldn't have even known they sold them at the Sweet Granada. I just think that's an excellent way and a use of a sandwich board. It's a lure to pull us in that you wouldn't have on a sign on your building. Here's another one in Mahone Bay. And I love the fact that look at all the purple flowers and notice the color of the sign. And 20% summer clothing as marked, I think is excellent. So that is just an excellent use of sandwich boards, and they should be allowed for these types of uses. Here's also Mahone Bay is just a showcase town for everybody with downtowns. But in this case, they have part of it is chalkboard and part of it sells that they sell sandwiches, espresso, cappuccino, ice cream, fresh blend, imported cheese. And then they could put coffee and muffins or lobster sourdough or sandwiches, seafood chowder, and they can change that out. So in this case, I think that would be allowable. I think it's great. Now they do have one back there that is a chalkboard, but that one's permanently mounted to the building. So it's not a freestanding movable sign. In the case of something simple right here, they've got a great little sandwich board. It'd be nice if they used it. They've got the little chalk outline there, but they should put something in that. And so once again, I think that's an excellent example. Okay, so they should be allowed, particularly when you're promoting today's special or a weekly special or a special event. I think they're awesome for that. And that's why I love chalkboard signs. Number 3 in this list is placement. They should only be placed in front of the business. I mean, I've been in towns where they all ran down to the corner and tried to put them there, and they had a whole plethora. In this case, the wind knocks them down, or maybe a competitor went and knocked them over here, but it just looks tacky. Or look at this, talk about competition where they're not allowed, they don't have them right in front of the business. They all run down to the corner and they try to put their sandwich board in front of their neighbor's sandwich board, and you just get sign clutter. It just looks tacky. It looks awful. So in your rules for sandwich boards, only in front of the business establishment, like this is absolutely fine. I mean, it's right here. It's Natural Foods, and they're promoting, come see our new selection of Birkenstocks, but I think that's a great placement for that sign, and it's right in front of the business. It's not down at the end of the block. So all of these you're seeing are just some examples. Upstairs, I think they need to get somebody that's a little better with their chalk art there, but it just talks about they have some things in there that are half off. Once again, it's in front of the business. In this case, here's one little exception to that. It is in front of the business, but in this case, they're not promoting a special sale or a special menu item because the cafe sits so far back off the street that they have the little cafe open sign that you see down in the bottom kind of left side of your screen there. And I think that's perfectly in character. And by the way, notice the pink colors that you see on the Garden Gate cafe. You see it on all their signs. So it all is part of a thematic theme. Even the flowers match the colors. These are just great examples. Here we are. This is Elite Imports in Turlock, California. Once again, it's a nice sign. It's right in front of the business. And in their case, they do have a blade sign. I wish it was a little lower between that 7 foot, range there. But once again, they're just letting you know that they're open. And I think that would be allowable. I'd rather see a chalkboard with a lure to pull us in, certain thing on sale, or you're showcasing a certain thing this week, which I think would be more effective at pulling people in the door. And number 4 on this list is 1 per business, or 1 for every 40 feet. So in this case, if you had 2 retail spaces that are 20 feet, you have 40 feet, you could probably get away with doing 2. And this one is a little bit of more of a gray area that you have to take a look at and how it fits in your community. But what you don't want is this. I think this is just tacky to the extreme. And we got the optical shop, we got piercing, we got boost your energy, we got another one, we got Crocs down there with paper glued on the face of a sandwich board. I mean, Untitled Bookshop. Is such a plethora of this. And by the way, you can't hardly get out of the passenger side of your cars. There's so many sandwich boards. So you want to avoid, that's why I say 1 every 20 feet. Or so. And you also want to avoid this. I took in Boston where you had 2 of them on each side of the door. It's too much. Granted, it's got Join Us for Dinner on the roof. It's got the chalkboard, but once again, it's promoting Heineken, beer, and it's too many. 1 per 20 feet, I think, should be the rule, so you don't end up with sign clutter. Now, I did say this is a gray area because in this case, I thought this was really well done. They actually have a retail. They've got the little sandwich board right there. It's done in chalk and everything of special deals, but they also have a second one, which is actually a retail display sign. A lot of times you see these inside retail shops. And in their case, they have one that's kind of back up against the building, 20% off all purses, and they have another one in front of the door. So this is where I go, well, if you're promoting a special thing, and it's not 2 sandwich boards out in the middle of the sidewalk. One is up against like the facade, like they have it right in front of a planter, and the other one is more out in front of the sidewalk. I could see that being allowed. So this is one of those little gray areas where in this case, I think it works. And then number 5, they must be put away when the business is closed. And I think that is really, really, really important to do. I took this in Greenville, Maine, and in this case, their sandwich board, they can tuck it up because their entrance is tucked back in there. They can actually put their sandwich board, tuck it up in there, and it can stay up all the time. It's not out in the sidewalk for snow removal or anything. I mean, they might go ahead and put that little open sign away. And of course, the old milk can that it's sitting in front of, they would put those things away. They would probably put the welcome sign away. They'd probably put that Adirondack chair back. But at least with their sandwich board sign, they could just tuck it in the entryway because it's not affecting any pedestrian access, with people walking down the sidewalk. In many cases like this one here, you don't need a sandwich board. If you've got it, basically you've got a sign mounted right there to your wall right there. Now, in this case, that could be a sandwich board that they take off. It's not, but they could do a sandwich board that they hang up when they're closed to invite you back the next day. And then during the day, they could use it as a sandwich board. So there's kind of a cool thing that you could do. But I think that's really well done. And once again, it did a really good job with the chalk art on it and the printing on it. And then finally, this isn't one of the 5, but every community should have a design review team that would look at blade signs and would look at sandwich boards. But rather than make it a city ordinance, I would make it a downtown association, maybe the downtown association board. It's a jury of their peers working with them to design the right signs. You don't want phone numbers on signs anymore, things like that, only 4 words. Now sandwich boards, you can have more because it's really meant for pedestrian traffic. They're not meant for vehicular traffic. In the case of Mount Shasta, California, they actually, some people were calling their sign committee the sign Gestapo, because if you didn't put away your sign, they would confiscate it to you. They'd give it back the next day and you'd pay like a $20 fine, which went right into beautifying downtown. But in their case, they did have standards. Notice their signs are a little bit narrower and taller. And once again, when you have a design review committee, they did that so there would always be ADA access. Like you can see somebody coming down on a little motorized cart right there. And so having a design review is not meant to be the sign Gestapo. What it's meant to do is help merchants develop signs that will actually be effective in pulling customers in their door. Like this one in Wallace, Idaho. I think that's a gorgeous sign. I think it's just fantastic. I think it's really well done. And of course, one of my favorite ones I've ever seen is in Barrie, Ontario, that one. Now open Sundays. It's colorful, it's bright, it's artistic. And I just think it's awesome. In some, when you're talking about doing design review, it's like working, like right here, they have the right idea. I think the outline of the sign, the frame could probably be repainted, but they need to have somebody with maybe a little bit of artistic flair actually do the chalk on it. So it's not just a list, make it attractive. And I think you do that. But once again, it's a great example. And sometimes blade signs can be like this. This is not even a blade sign. It's just a portable sign they can put away when they're closed. Sorry, it's a little bit out of focus there, but I'll probably have too many words on that. Nautical gifts, books, apparel, kites, boats, models. I mean, they have such a big list that I'm not sure everybody actually is going to read the whole thing. So for blade signs, I typically say less than 8 words, unless you're doing a menu. We can glance down through a menu or something that's done with chalk. You can do more words with chalk than you can with printed, like you see here. Here's some just other great examples. Have a yarn, notice the sandwich board, really well done. And in their case, it's right there, one step away from the door. It's not even out on the sidewalk in their case. One thing I really struggle with is these types of signs you see right here. That doesn't make me want to go into Saladino's Italian market. The bigger sign you see up there makes me want to go in. This sign doesn't really make me want to go in because it's generic. It's out of character with the business. And so, you can allow these, you cannot allow them. I personally don't think it really does that much to sell me on going in the business, like something that was hand drawn with a chalkboard would. And so that's something just to keep in mind. And of course, with sandwich boards, there's nothing like a little humor. And I collect these all over. I mean, I was working in Truro, Nova Scotia when I saw this one at the pie shop at the dessert place. And I just thought that was really cute. So sometimes you can really have fun just by adding humor and then changing it out. This one hit a little bit close to home for me. No senior discounts. You've had twice as long to get the money. Or even this one, I just thought was really great. I mean, how fun is that? And so once again, I love chalk sandwich boards. I think for restaurants, they're really critical. For retail shops where you have something on sale or lure to pull people in that you wouldn't have in a traditional sign, I think is excellent. This one, if it's not some humor, maybe it's sage advice, like one cannot think well, love well, sleep well, if one has not dined well. And that was written by Virginia Woolf, and it's for the waffle shop there. And so I just think these are great examples that you can emulate using sandwich boards in your downtown.